Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a simple question. What if the next 10 minutes could change the direction of your entire life? Not next year, not next month, not when things calm down. I'm talking about today, the next 10 minutes. You see, we often overestimate what we can do in a year and underestimate what we can do in a few focused minutes. Success is not a dramatic overnight transformation. It is the result of small disciplines practiced every single day. And today, I want to talk to you about the most valuable 10 minutes you will spend. The 10 minutes you spend with yourself. Because here is what I've learned. If you don't design your life, someone else will. Those 10 minutes are not for social media. They are not for email. They are not for reacting to the world. They are for thinking, for reflecting, for planning, for deciding. Most people live their lives in reaction mode. The phone rings, they react. The boss calls, they react. The news flashes, they react. But successful people, they respond. And the difference between reaction and response is thought. 10 minutes of thinking can save you 10 years of regret. In those 10 minutes, ask yourself powerful questions. Where am I going? What am I becoming? Who am I spending time with? What habits are shaping my future? You see, your life does not improve by chance. It improves by change. And change begins with awareness. Awareness begins with thought. And thought requires time. Let me give you a simple practice. Every morning, before the world gets loud, take 10 quiet minutes. Sit with a notebook. Write down 3 things first. What am I grateful for? And gratitude changes your perspective. And when your perspective changes, your decisions change. And when your decisions change, your life changes. Second, what is the most important thing I must accomplish today? Not 10 things, not 20 things. One major thing. Because success is not about being busy. It's about being productive. Third, who must I become to achieve my goals? Notice I didn't say what must I do. I said who must I become? Because success is not something you pursue. It's something you attract by the person you become. Those 10 minutes are an investment. And investments, when made consistently, pay extraordinary returns. You can spend 10 minutes worrying. Or you can spend 10 minutes preparing. You can spend 10 minutes complaining. Or you can spend 10 minutes creating. You can spend 10 minutes scrolling. Or you can spend 10 minutes studying. The choice is yours. But remember this, small choices, repeated daily, create massive results. I once learned that time is more valuable than money. You can get more money, but you cannot get more time. And if that is true, then 10 minutes of intentional thinking is priceless. Imagine doing this every day for a year. 10 minutes a day is just over 60 hours a year. 60 hours of focused planning. 60 hours of personal development, 60 hours of strategic thinking about your own life. Most people don't spend 6 hours a year thinking about their future, and they wonder why it never changes. Success leaves clues, and one of the greatest clues is this: successful people think more than they talk. They plan more than they panic. They reflect more than they react. If you want to transform your income, improve your relationships, strengthen your health, or deepen your faith, it begins in those quiet moments of self-examination. Here's something else to remember: discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. 10 minutes of discipline feels small, but the regret of wasted years feels heavy. So start today, not tomorrow, not Monday. Today, when you leave here, don't just feel motivated, feel committed. Motivation gets you started. Discipline keeps you going. Make it a ritual. Guard it. Protect it. Those 10 minutes are an appointment with your future. Turn off distractions. Close the door. Silence the noise. And meet with yourself. Because the greatest project you will ever work on is you. Your habits determine your direction. Your direction determines your destination. And sometimes all it takes to change direction is 10 minutes. 10 minutes to decide you will no longer live average. 10 minutes to set a goal. 10 minutes to write a plan. 10 minutes to forgive. 10 minutes to learn. 10 minutes to dream again. Don't underestimate the power of small beginnings. A plane leaving Los Angeles for New York, off by just a few degrees, ends up in Washington, D.C. A small shift in direction makes a massive difference in destination. Your life works the same way. 10 focused minutes a day can shift your thinking. And when your thinking shifts, your actions shift. And when your actions shift, your results shift. The most valuable 10 minutes you will spend today are not spent impressing others, they're spent improving yourself. So I challenge you, before this day ends, take those 10 minutes. Think right, plan, decide, and then act. Because the future does not belong to the distracted. It belongs to the disciplined. And discipline begins with 10 intentional minutes. Let me share something simple but powerful with you. Your life changes the moment your thinking changes. Not when your circumstances change. Not when your bank account changes. Not when other people change. Your life changes when your thinking changes. And sometimes, all it takes is 10 quiet, focused minutes to begin that shift. Most people don't have a direction problem. They have a thinking problem. They wake up in the morning and immediately allow the world to set their agenda. The phone buzzes, the news shouts, responsibilities pile up, and before they know it, the day is running them instead of them running the day. They are reacting instead of responding. And a life lived in reaction is a life lived by accident. But successful people learn to pause. They learn to think, They understand that emotion can be powerful, but direction is more powerful. And direction comes from deliberate thought. 10 minutes of thinking may not sound like much, but don't underestimate it. A plane leaving Los Angeles headed for New York can be off by just a few degrees and end up hundreds of miles away from its intended destination. The shift is small at the beginning, barely noticeable. But over time, that slight adjustment changes everything. Your life works the same way. You don't need a dramatic overhaul. You need a slight correction in thinking. When you sit down for 10 uninterrupted minutes and ask yourself honest questions, something powerful happens. You step out of survival mode and into leadership mode. You stop drifting and start directing. You move from chaos to clarity. Clarity is one of the most valuable gifts you can give yourself. Without clarity, you chase everything and accomplish little. With clarity, you focus on what matters and eliminate what doesn't. And clarity doesn't come from noise. It comes from silence. It comes from reflection. Ask yourself, where am I headed if I keep doing what I'm doing? That question alone can wake you up. Because the truth is, your daily habits are writing your future. Every decision, every routine, every repeated behavior is shaping who you are becoming. If you don't like the direction, change the thinking that created it. 10 minutes gives you space to evaluate your habits. Are they moving you toward your goals or away from them? Are the people you surround yourself with encouraging growth or encouraging comfort? Is your daily routine building strength or building excuses? You see, success is not mysterious. It is predictable. If you plant good seeds consistently, you will eventually harvest good results. But you must take time to examine what you're planting. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they lack reflection. They never stop long enough to ask, is this working? They simply repeat yesterday over and over, hoping tomorrow will magically improve. Hope is not a strategy. Thinking is. When you think intentionally, you begin to see opportunities that were always there. You begin to recognize patterns. You become aware of choices. Awareness creates options. Options create change. And here's something else: thinking builds confidence. When you have taken time to plan your day, to evaluate your priorities, to decide your actions, you walk into the world with certainty. You're not easily shaken because you've already done the internal work. Confidence doesn't come from shouting affirmations at the mirror. It comes from preparation. And preparation begins with thought. 10 minutes can also save you from costly mistakes. A few minutes of reflection before making a decision can prevent months or years of frustration. Asking yourself, is this aligned with my goals? Or what are the long-term consequences of this choice? Can protect your future. We often think we need more time to succeed. What we really need is better use of the time we already have. Think about it. If you dedicated 10 minutes each day to serious reflection about your finances, your health, your relationships, your goals, how different would your life look in a year? 10 minutes a day becomes over 60 hours a year. 60 hours of focused, intentional thought about your life's direction. Most people don't spend 6 hours a year doing that. And here's the key: consistency. One day of thinking won't change your life, but daily thinking will change your direction. And change direction changes destination. You must become the architect of your own life. And architects don't start building without a plan. They step back, they study, they measure, they design. That design process is your 10 minutes. It's during those minutes that you reclaim control. You remind yourself that you are not a victim of circumstances, but a product of decisions. You choose to adjust. You choose to grow. You choose to aim higher. And sometimes those 10 minutes will challenge you. They may reveal habits you need to break or attitudes you need to correct. But that discomfort is growth knocking at your door. Remember this: you cannot change what you refuse to examine. The most powerful person in your life is the one who controls your thinking. And that person should be you. So guard those 10 minutes. Protect them. Turn off the noise. Sit with your thoughts. Ask better questions. Evaluate your path. Make small corrections. Because a small correction today can prevent a massive regret tomorrow. 10 minutes of honest thinking can change your direction. And once your direction changes, everything else begins to change with it. Let me tell you something that can absolutely transform your life if you understand it and apply it. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every single day. That's it. Nothing magical. Nothing mysterious, just small disciplines repeated consistently over time. We live in a world that loves dramatic stories, overnight success, instant results, quick transformations. But that's not how life really works. Life responds to consistency. It responds to patterns. It responds to what you do every day, not what you do once in a while. The difference between where you are now and where you want to be is found in your daily habits. It's easy to underestimate small actions. Reading 10 pages a day doesn't seem impressive. Saving a small amount of money each week doesn't feel life-changing. Exercising for 20 minutes doesn't look dramatic. But here's what's powerful. When you repeat those actions every day, they begin to compound. Compounding works in every area of life, not just in money, in knowledge, health, relationships, skills, character. A little progress each day adds up to massive results over time. You don't get healthy by exercising once. You get healthy by exercising consistently. You don't become wise by reading one book. You become wise by reading regularly. You don't build wealth with one paycheck. You build wealth with disciplined financial habits over years. Small disciplines create strength. Small neglect creates weakness. And here's the danger: neglect is easy. In fact, neglect is invisible at first. Skipping one workout doesn't seem like a problem. Ignoring one opportunity to learn doesn't feel costly. Spending a little extra money today doesn't seem serious. But when small neglect is repeated daily, it creates a pattern. And patterns shape destiny. The same is true on the positive side. One good choice may not change your life today, but repeated daily, it will absolutely change your future. You see, success is not about intensity. It's about consistency. Some people get inspired and work hard for a week. They wake up early, they exercise, they read, they plan. But then life gets busy, motivation fades, and they slip back into old habits. That's not discipline. That's emotion. And emotion fades. Discipline is different. Discipline says, I will do this whether I feel like it or not. Discipline says, my future is too important to be left to my moods. When you commit to small daily disciplines, you begin to build trust with yourself. And self-trust is powerful. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, your confidence grows. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, and that identity shift changes everything. Instead of saying, I'm trying to get in shape, you become someone who exercises daily. Instead of saying, I'm trying to improve my finances, you become someone who manages money wisely. Instead of saying, I'm trying to grow, you become someone who invests in personal development every day. Your habits shape your identity, and your identity shapes your results. Think of your life like a garden. Every day, you are either planting seeds or allowing weeds to grow. The seeds may be small: reading, learning, saving, practicing gratitude, planning your day. But given enough time, those seeds produce a harvest. And here's the exciting part: you don't have to change everything at once. In fact, trying to change everything at once usually leads to frustration. Instead, focus on one or two small disciplines. Make them non-negotiable. Protect them. Repeat them daily. Maybe it's 10 minutes of reading. Maybe it's writing down your goals every morning. Maybe it's walking for 20 minutes. Maybe it's tracking your expenses. Whatever it is, keep it simple, but keep it consistent. Because what you do daily determines who you become permanently. People often ask, how long does it take to see results? The better question is, how long are you willing to stay consistent? Results don't come on your schedule. They come on the schedule of compounding. At first, you won't see much difference. That's where most people quit. They say, it's not working. But they don't understand that success is quietly building beneath the surface. Just like a farmer doesn't dig up his seeds every week to check if they're growing, you must trust the process. Plant, water, protect, repeat. Eventually, the results become visible. And when they do, people call it luck. They say, you're so disciplined. You're so fortunate. But what they don't see are the hundreds of small daily choices that created that outcome. Your future is being built right now in the small decisions you make today. You cannot control the economy. You cannot control every circumstance. But you can control your daily disciplines. And here's the truth. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. The effort required to read a few pages, to wake up a little earlier, to plan your day, to exercise, that effort feels small in the moment. But the regret of wasted potential feels heavy. Massive results do not require massive actions. They require small actions done consistently over time. If you improve just 1% each day, imagine where you'll be in a year. Imagine the skills you'll build, the confidence you'll gain, the opportunities you'll attract. Small daily disciplines are not exciting. They are not glamorous, but they are powerful beyond measure. So don't look for the breakthrough. Become the person who practices the basics daily. Because in the end, success is simple. Not easy, but simple. Do the small things every day and let time do the heavy lifting. One of the most powerful habits you can ever develop is the habit of asking yourself the right questions. Not once a year, not when things fall apart, but every single day. Because the quality of your life is directly connected to the quality of the questions you ask yourself. Most people drift through life because they never stop to examine it. They wake up, go through routines, respond to demands, and go to bed only to repeat the same pattern tomorrow. Weeks become months, months become years, and they wonder why nothing changes. Life does not change by accident. It changes by design. And design begins with questions. When you take a few quiet minutes and ask yourself, where am I going? You force your mind to think beyond today's distractions. You lift your eyes from the urgent and focus on the important. That one question alone can separate you from the crowd, because the majority are busy, but not directed. Being busy is not the same as being productive. You can climb the ladder of success only to discover it's leaning against the wrong wall. That's what happens when you don't ask, where am I going? Direction determines destination. If you don't choose your direction, circumstances will choose it for you, and circumstances rarely choose greatness. Another powerful question is, who am I becoming? Notice I didn't say, what am I getting? Or, what am I achieving? Achievement is important, yes, but becoming is more important. Your income rarely exceeds your personal development for long. Your leadership rarely exceeds your character. Your success rarely exceeds your self-image. So the real question is not what you're doing. It's who you are becoming while you're doing it. Are your daily habits shaping you into someone disciplined, reliable, and focused? Or are they shaping you into someone distracted, reactive, and inconsistent? Every day you are becoming something. You are not standing still. The habits you tolerate are shaping your character. The books you read are shaping your thinking. The people you spend time with are shaping your standards. If you don't evaluate who you are becoming, you may wake up years from now and not recognize yourself. Another essential question is, what is the most important thing I must accomplish today? Notice the word most. Not 10 things, not everything. The most important thing. One of the greatest causes of frustration is a lack of focus. When you try to do everything, you end up doing very little with excellence. But when you identify one major priority and give it your full attention, progress becomes measurable. Progress builds momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence builds belief. And belief is powerful. When you begin to win the day, even in small ways, you start to believe in your ability to shape your life. That belief fuels further action. But it begins with identifying what truly matters today. If you don't decide what's important, someone else will. And usually their priorities won't match your dreams. Asking powerful questions also creates awareness. Awareness is the starting point of change. You cannot improve what you refuse to examine. Ask yourself, what habits are holding me back? That question may be uncomfortable. But growth often begins with discomfort. You may realize you're spending too much time on distractions. You may realize you're avoiding difficult tasks. You may realize you're settling for less than your potential. But that awareness is a gift, because once you see clearly, you can act clearly. Questions bring clarity. Clarity brings confidence. Confidence brings action. Think of yourself as the CEO of your own life. A CEO doesn't operate blindly. They analyze. They evaluate. They measure. They adjust. They ask hard questions about performance and direction. Why should you expect your life to improve if you never evaluate it? When you sit down daily and ask yourself thoughtful questions, you begin to take ownership. Ownership changes everything. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop hoping for luck. You start deciding. And decision is powerful. Decision means you cut off alternatives. You commit. You move forward with intention. Let me share something important. Your mind will always answer the questions you ask it. If you ask, why is my life so difficult? Your mind will give you reasons. If you ask, how can I make today better? Your mind will search for solutions. Better questions produce better answers. If you want better results, ask better questions. Questions like, what can I learn from this challenge? How can I improve by 1% today? What step can I take right now toward my goal? Who do I need to become to reach the next level? These questions shift you from victim to leader, from reactive to proactive, from confused to focused. And here's the beauty of it. It doesn't require hours, just a few intentional minutes. Those quiet moments of reflection may not look dramatic, but they are shaping your future. They are aligning your daily actions with your long-term vision. They're preventing you from drifting. Drifting is easy. Direction is intentional. If you want to design your life instead of drifting through it, you must make reflection a habit, guard it, protect it, make it non-negotiable. Because the person who asks disciplined questions lives a directed life. And a directed life leads to a meaningful destination. Your future is hidden in the answers to the questions you are willing to ask yourself today. Let me share a principle that changed my life. Success is not something you pursue. It is something you attract by the person you become. Most people have their focus backward. They chase success. They chase money. They chase recognition. They chase opportunities. And while there's nothing wrong with ambition, there is something incomplete about chasing results without developing the character required to sustain them. You see, success is like a shadow. If you chase it, it keeps moving. But if you turn toward the light of personal development, success follows you naturally. The real question is not, what do I need to get? The real question is, who do I need to become? Because your income rarely exceeds your level of personal growth for long. Your business rarely grows beyond your leadership ability. Your relationships rarely improve beyond your emotional maturity. Your results reflect your development. If you want more, become more. That's the foundation. If you want a better job, become more skilled. If you want greater income, become more valuable. If you want stronger relationships, become more patient, more understanding, more compassionate. Life does not respond to wishes. It responds to worth. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying you aren't valuable. I'm saying that growth increases value, and increased value attracts greater opportunity. Think of it this way. The marketplace pays for value. The world rewards problem solvers. The greater the problem you can solve, the greater the reward you can earn. So instead of asking, how can I make more money? Ask, how can I become more valuable? That shift in thinking changes everything. When you focus on becoming disciplined, you attract trust. When you focus on becoming knowledgeable, you attract influence. When you focus on becoming dependable, you attract responsibility, and responsibility leads to opportunity. Opportunities don't disappear. They go to the person who is prepared. Preparation is personal development. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. That's one of the greatest pieces of advice I ever learned. If you work hard on your job, you can make a living. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune, not just financially, but in every area of life. Your character is your foundation. Skills can be learned. Strategies can be adjusted, but character determines how far you can go and how long you can stay there. If you become a person of integrity, people will trust you. If you become a person of consistency, people will rely on you. If you become a person of vision, people will follow you. Leadership is not a title. It is a reflection of who you are. And here's something powerful: personal development is completely within your control. You cannot control the economy. You cannot control other people's opinions. You cannot control every circumstance, but you can control your effort to grow. You can read. You can learn. You can practice. You can reflect. You can improve your habits. You can strengthen your mindset. Every day, you have the opportunity to invest in yourself. Read books that stretch your thinking. Listen to ideas that challenge your assumptions. Spend time with people who raise your standards. Examine your weaknesses honestly and commit to improving them. Growth requires humility. You must be willing to say, I don't know enough yet. You must be willing to admit mistakes. You must be willing to change, but that humility becomes strength. Because once you accept responsibility for your growth, you stop blaming circumstances. You stop saying, if only. You start saying, what can I do to improve? And improvement compounds. The person you become this year will determine the opportunities you see next year. If you expand your skills, your confidence expands. If you strengthen your discipline, your results strengthen. If you elevate your thinking, your decisions improve. Your decisions shape your destiny. Success is not magic. It is alignment. When your character, skills, and habits align with opportunity, results follow naturally. Imagine becoming so disciplined that distractions lose their power over you. Imagine becoming so knowledgeable that people seek your advice. Imagine becoming so reliable that your word carries weight. That's attraction. Instead of knocking on doors begging for chances, doors begin to open because of who you are. And here's the exciting part: you don't have to become perfect overnight. Growth is incremental. Just as small daily disciplines create massive results, small daily improvements in character create powerful transformation. Focus on one trait at a time. Maybe it's patience. Maybe it's confidence. Maybe it's communication skills. Maybe it's financial literacy. Choose an area and begin strengthening it intentionally. Ask yourself daily, did I grow today? Not, did I earn more today? Not, did I impress anyone today? But, did I grow? Because growth ensures future results. The most secure path to success is not chasing opportunity. It is becoming the kind of person opportunity is looking for. And here's the truth: the person you become is more important than anything you achieve. Achievements can be lost. Money can disappear. Titles can change. But who you become stays with you. And who you become determines what you can rebuild, what you can attract, and what you can sustain. So commit to becoming more than you are today. Sharpen your skills. Strengthen your character. Elevate your standards. Because success is not something you pursue. It is something you attract by the person you become.